This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet, on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, and syndicated by our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. And I remind you that to keep on top of all the news, some of which you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media, you need to go to paltalknewsnetwork.com, and you'll see a lot of stuff there that you probably won't be seeing on your evening news. As you know, we bring very interesting guests to this program, especially those who I believe need greater exposure than they normally might get. Today's guest is a gentleman by the name of Sam Smith. He is the CEO of an organization called Mercy Ships, and he's one of the good guys out there. Mercy Ships has these hospital ships that deliver free, world-class health care services to those without access in the developing world. There's some who think that maybe we should put some canals in the United States so that we can get the Mercy Ships to all the uninsured people here as well. It was founded in 1978 by Don and Deyon Stephens. It's worked in more than 70 countries, providing services valued at more than $748 million. More than 2.16 million direct beneficiaries, more than 1,200 crew worldwide representing more than 40 nations. Sam Smith, welcome to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Thank you, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to be talking to you. I just love the work that you're doing. How many Mercy Ships are there out there?
Well, Gary, over the history of the organization, we've actually had 5. We have one ship that's actually in service, the Africa Mercy, our new flagship, that was put into service in 2007. When she went into service, she effectively doubled the capacity of all of our ships in our history combined. And so we're currently working on the development of the second ship of this class to continue what we're doing.
Well, this has got to be an extremely expensive proposition. Not only do you need the personnel, medical personnel, not only do you need to be able to retrofit a ship as if it were a world-class hospital in any of the major population centers of the developed world, but the cost of the ship, maintaining it and transporting it from one area of the world to another must be absolutely astronomical.
Well, it's not a cheap adventure, to say the least. I will say that the reason we've actually retired our other ships and are in the process of developing another one of this class is that we determined that the operational costs of operating a smaller vessel or a larger vessel were not that far apart. So we determined that we could use a larger vessel and actually be able to serve more people with a minimal expense added to the process. Now, the other process that's really great is that our entire crew on board the ship, with the exception of a few key security personnel, are all volunteer. So they actually pay their own way to go down and do what they do. So it's a very unique business model, and yes, it is difficult to continue to find the right people with the right skill set to volunteer, to pay their own way to go down and do what they do, but for 31 years we've been very blessed to be able to pull that off.
But Sam Smith, the CEO of Mercy Ships, when you say that you have a volunteer staff completely on the ship, you're not just talking about doctors and RNs and dental technicians and dentists and x-ray technicians, etc. You're talking about the actual crew that operates the ship. They're all volunteers as well?
Absolutely. In fact, it's an amazing process to see in action. But all of our maritime crew, and all of our non-medical personnel are also volunteers. Every once in a while we'll have a specific maritime crew member that we need for a very specific reason to keep the ship operating, that we may have to hire someone with that classification for a period of time. But for the most part, all the crew, with the exception of the security personnel that we have on board, are all volunteer and pay their own way to go there.
So how large is the Africa Mercy, and how much of a crew can it sustain, and how many patients can it assist?
Well, the Africa Mercy is actually a former Danish rail ferry. She's 500 foot long. She has 6 state-of-the-art operating theaters. If you are a world-renowned surgeon from a facility such as like Johns Hopkins here in the United States, you can pretty much do everything that you could do on board the Africa Mercy you could have done at your hospital where you were coming from. So it's a pretty unique setup. But we have a crew of 450 on board that ship, both medical and non-medical. We actually have families that live on board the ship that actually husband and wife work in different areas of the operation, and their kids actually attend an academy that's actually on board the ship. So we actually even have teachers teaching K through 12 students while we're actually performing the life-changing surgeries that we offer.
Where is the Africa Mercy right now?
Currently, she's on the shore of Cotonou, Benin, which is the country. It's a small country located between Togo and Nigeria. She is there for a 10-month field service that was begun the first part of February and will conclude around the first part of December.
How do you choose, Sam Smith, where to send the ship at any given time?
Well, the way we start the process is we actually work with the World Health Order. The UN actually produces a health index that basically lists the countries as in terms of their healthcare facilities and operations, and we start at the very bottom and work our way up. Currently, if you were to look at that index, the bottom 15, the majority are all existing currently in West Africa. So right now our operations are focused on the people of the region of West Africa.
And do you have to get the approval of the various governments before you pull into their territorial waters to do this?
Well, we actually are actually requested to come to their countries before we even consider them. The country has to invite us. We go and we actually determine what type of needs are in existence so that we can actually recruit for the type of personnel that are needed. I do want to point out that we have our hospital on board the ship with 6 state-of-the-art operating theaters, but we also have teams that leave the ship every morning. We have over 40 Land Rovers that every morning teams actually hop in those Land Rovers and go in country to find the various people that need our help, but also while our team on board the ship is trying to address specific medical conditions, these teams off the ship are trying to eradicate what caused those illnesses to begin with. So we're digging water wells and providing proper sanitation. We also have teams of dietitians working with new mothers. We have teams that are building clinics and schools